Greetings, technicians. This is Admin Krow here, your coach of the Toronto Star Raptors. Wait. Wrong intro. Cut. Let's try that again. Greetings, my good people of the PCL. So we're gonna bring you guys a very special series here where all the content creators of the PCL Discord group is gonna try to put up some analysis for the Pokemons that we think are good or are just fantastic picks in draft leagues overall. We're gonna start with the more popular picks or the mons that are ranked higher up, and I believe each content creator is gonna take over one mon and just go over them basically from a league perspective. How come the mon is I guess different from the standard ladder play, and what makes the mon unique or good in just a draft league style format. So yeah, the mon I picked by yours truly, Admin Krow here, is Mew. So I didn't want this video to be 2 hours long because Mew, as you guys know, literally does get access to every single TM or HMs. From a personal opinion, Mew's limitation is only limited by the coach's imagination, so it can literally do whatever you want. Almost, it is the most versatile mon in the draft league format, no doubt. Maybe slightly outclassed by Smeargle, but Smeargle is kind of niche. But in terms of higher tier, Mew is definitely the definition of versatility. So in this video, I'm not just gonna go over every single set that Mew has, but like I mentioned before, it's literally gonna be a 2 hours long video, and I apologize in advance that if I do sound a little bit different or my voice isn't the best, simply because I actually went karaoke last night and I sort of got food poison too, so that's not very good. Anyways, I'm gonna try my best in this video for sure. Of course, to bring you guys the best content. So overall, as a psychic type, Mew of course appreciate teammates such as dark types and fairy types. As a pure psychic type, there's only two Pokemon in my opinion that has the advantage of potentially beating, quote unquote, have the upper hand versus dark types. One of them is Mew, and the other one is Necrozma, simply because that weakness policy ability along with a stat along with the Prism Armor ability, which is sort of acts like filter, makes your opponent really think twice before clicking that Pursuit or Sucker Punch. And to start off, I'm actually gonna start with a pivot set of Mew. So the reason I put Mew alongside of Necrozma as an example is simply because, of course, you don't get that filter or I guess Prism Armor ability. But a lot of people didn't know this. Is that if you run a pivot set of Mew or just any Mew, any set of Mew in general, I'm gonna try my best not to get sidetracked. Simply because there are so many moves that Mew can run. So when you do run a pivot Mew, right? So you're gonna be trying to switch into opponents to take attacks. Obviously, the items are pretty obvious in my opinion. You're either gonna be running some leftovers or Rocky Helmet or even Assault Vets to help you take the hits a little bit better, but less likely for Assault Vest if you're gonna run Baton Pass, which is actually crucial when it comes down to Mew. Well, I guess what makes Mew unique when it comes down to playing a role of a pivot. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that as a psychic type, with the move Baton Pass, you can actually Baton Pass away from Pursuit. So how it works is that obviously if you get off a faster U-turn or Volt Switch with Mew when you try to pivot out after taking a huge hit against dark type, obviously, or I guess among with dark type moves, or just pursuit in general, you're gonna be taking that double damage from the boosted pursuit because you are switching out. However, though, if you go with baton pass as your choice of pivoting or switching out, you actually don't take that additional damage with your Mew. The mon that you're gonna be switching in is gonna be taking that pursuit, and it's not even boosted. I believe that's how it works. And obviously I have the moves right here. I'm not gonna go over the abilities because obviously Mew only gets one ability, and that is synchronize. You can really use that to your advantage if you're running a defensive Mew. I will get into that in a little bit, but the moves here are pretty essential. This is not a full set obviously, but I'm just pointing out the moves that you need to run, I guess, one of these moves if you're running a pivot Mew, or I guess a pivot a Mew set that acts as a pivot. So obviously you have U-turn Volt Switch, the standard Volt Turn, and you need one of these if you want to run a pivot Mew to take hits and maybe recover or roost to help you get back health. Obviously, I'm not gonna have any repetitive moves on any of my sets. I'm just gonna go over the key moves that is essential for the Mew for that specific set. And if you don't want to run Volt Switch or U-turn, you can run Baton Pass against a potential mon that has Pursuit, but it's not a Dark type. Obviously, it's very unlikely that you're gonna be switching Mew against Dark type anyways. That's why it's a very niche way to get past Pursuit. If your opponent knows exactly where you're braining, chances are they're probably gonna have some Pursuit trappers specifically made just for Mew. So that's actually a very good way to bypass that. So that's something, in my opinion, immediately puts Mew above other psychic types alongside of Necrozma. And its ability to set up screens definitely help as well if you're trying to run a pivot. Just be able to pivot in, hard switch into the Mew and take something, maybe recover off the damage and get up those screens maybe with a light clay, and just be able to pivot out with one of your pivoting moves. And then obviously the EV spreads are gonna be pretty defensive, as that's gonna be pretty straightforward. So up next we do have a defensive Mew. So defensive Mew, in my opinion, is the most abundant set on the ladder. So I'm not gonna go over that too much, but the fact that you can draft a Mew in a, I guess, a draft league format, you can really tailor it to what your opponent exactly have on their roster, so you don't necessarily have to run a defensive Mew. In my opinion, the defense Mew is actually like a defense Mew in a draft league is actually the least potent set, simply because you are limiting yourself to that you're limiting yourself pretty much to a more predictable, or hinder yourself in a way that you're not taking full advantage of Mew's versatility. Because I'm assuming that, well, as a defensive mon, there's a lot of other mons that can do better than Mew as a whole. So I'm assuming you're gonna be drafting some walls on top of Mew to help you with that versatility. I mean, to help you to, you know, be able to use Mew more versatile, in a more versatile format, or more versatile style, I mean. So, but I'm still gonna go over this set regardless. Obviously, it can act as a defogger. It does not get access to rapid spin, so that's something you have to keep in mind, as versatile as Mew is. And obviously you want either lose or recover for reliable recovery. The items are pretty much gonna be leftovers almost over 90% of the time, as you want to be able to get back as much health as possible alongside of your recover or roost. You can also run protect or detect to help you to get even more get back even more health by stalling one turn or two. And it's also very useful to scout out for any choice user on your opponent's team. And another choice, move up choice you can run would be Ping Split. It's very niche as well, but in some occasions it does work better than Roost or Recover, as you are actually ditching out damage the same time that you are getting back health. And there's another move that can help out a defensive Mew as I guess Reflect type. a lot of psychic type get access to reflect type. If you guys don't know what it does, it basically makes your typing the same as your opponents. So if your opponents have a really good mon in terms of defensive typing, you can try to take advantage of that with your Mew. Because of its fantastic stat of base stat of 100 across the board, you're probably gonna be outrunning whatever wall that your opponent has on the roster. A good example of this would be Scizor or Ferrothorn. Obviously, you don't want to stay in against a Scizor. It very well may pack that U-turn, but the fact that the Mew is so versatile, it's going to fear your potential chance of packing a fire coverage, namely being Flamethrower, Fire Blast, or even Will-O-Wisp. So it hinders your. It basically, the existence of Mew, even if you don't bring it, is such a good mon to basically limit your opponent's playing style or just the way they have to prep. So if you do get a chance to get off that reflect type on one of the more defensive typings, like I mentioned before, a Ferrothorn or Scizor, you are gonna be able to stall your opponent most of the time anyways, because you can actually become your opponent's typing. Especially that Scizor is a very good example. It's only weak to fire, and it's gonna make your opponent's prep, a lot of your opponent's prep useless, simply because the pursuit or dark coverage they initially had prepared for Mew is not gonna be doing as much, or just hinder the way that the effectiveness of their moves. And a lot of the time as a player, when I'm prepping against Mew in leagues, I often just give up simply because I just stop prepping for Mew. There's so many variants of Mew that you can bring that in my opinion, it's not really worth the effort to you might want to prep against a certain set that's most threatening to your roster when you're prepping, but it's literally impossible to prep for every single variant of Mew. So that comes down to the mind game again that I mentioned before. Just the existence of Mew, having Mew on your roster itself just hinders the way that your opponent preps sometimes. And yeah, I think that's most of. Obviously, there's a lot more moves that Mew can run in terms of defensive variants, but those 4 moves are, I think, what's best on a defensive Mew if you do want to run that or go that route. Just in my opinion. So up next, we do have a setup variant with weakness policy, being I guess one of the best items that I think can work well with a setup Mew. It's a very similar idea with Necrozma. However, though, you don't need your speed on this Mew, simply because unlike Necrozma, Mew actually get access to priority. If you do make a more bulky Mew, you can take a super effective hit most of the time coming from a non-boosted attacker anyways. Especially to take advantage of that pursuit. If your opponents think that you're going to be switching out against a dark type and then they go for a pursuit, you can just stay in and trigger that weakness policy, and having the pursuit doing less damage to you as well, and just be able to set up that way. And because the versatility that Mew has, it can run some priorities on top of its setup as well. So it's very different from Necrozma in that aspect. And the move that it gets to set up, it literally gets everything. So bulk up, nasty plus, sword stance, whatever you want. And even Calm Mind. I don't have Calm Mind here because I'm going to show you guys a little bit later on a different set. Of course, you can still run a bulky Mew with just Calm Mind, Roost, or recover with Psychic or Moonblast just for coverage. But this is the most, I guess, if you want to run a setup Mew, these are the most abundant moves, or I guess the most useful moves in my opinion as well. And because Mew is so versatile, it can not only get its stab, obviously, running Psychic or Psyshock, but also at the same time it can run coverage for those switch-ins, typically being dark types, or I guess just dark types and steel types. You can run earth power for steel types, or even fire coverage. or just Moonblast for the dark types as well. So up next we do have a utility slash cleric Mew. Unfortunately, as a cleric, Mew is not as effective, but it does get access to Heal Bell. It doesn't get access to Wish, unfortunately, but the item on this set most likely is going to be leftovers, as you're going to be trying to get back as much health as possible. Obviously, you're going to need either Recover or Roost as well, but I don't have it here because I want to show off most of the utility moves that Mew has. You can run Trick Room if you do decide to go that route, or even Trick with a choice item to hinder your opponent's walls, or just be able to hinder their, I guess, ability to recover. You can also run Taunt. That's another move that Mew get access to basically cripple their walls as well. And of course you get all the status moves such as Will-O-Wisp and Yellow Magic, Thunder Wave, and of course the best move in the game, Knockoff, or even Scald if you want to go that route and get some really niche burns as well on top of that. And as a utility mon, it also gets access to both Tailwind, Super Fan against potential wall switch-ins, and also I believe the other move was Stealth Rock. So you can put it on a defensive Mew or a utility Mew if you do want to run a hazard setting Mew as your set of choice. And yeah, that's pretty much it for utility and cleric. And as you guys can see, I'm trying to speed this video up as much as I can, because I don't want to be going over every single move that Mew has. But of course, you can always tailor Mew to whatever your opponent has on their roster to make it more effective. So up next, we do have a Z move Mew. Mewnium Z was introduced in the 7th generation as a special exclusive Z crystal to Mew. In case you guys don't know what it does, it basically set up, it turns Psychic into a base 190 base power Psychic type move, Supernova, something Supernova. I don't know the full name because I never actually used Mew, but Psychic Supernova or something along the lines. Anyways, and it set up the Psychic terrain at the same time, so it does get that boosted Psychic type attacks. One thing you do have to note is that because the Psychic terrain is set up, all priority moves are going to be nullified. So don't try to run priorities on your Mew. And on top of that, you can try to take advantage of this within the 5 turn that Psychic terrain is up, is by setting up a Rock Polish to ensure that you outspeed any mons, potential choice Scarfers, or just any mons that are faster than Mew. And because their priorities are blocked, you can just always guarantee to fire off a faster hit in your Psychic terrain, which will again boost your Psychic type attacks. And for setup, you can either run Calm Mind or Nasty Plot, as a special offensive Mew is a lot more effective than a physical one. But of course, you can run mixed variant as well, because Psychic is actually essential to be able to use Mewnium Z in the first place. So lastly, we do have offensive or revenge killing Mew. The items on this set are most likely going to be Extra Bell, Life Orb, or Choice Spec, or Choice Band even, or Choice Scarf. You can literally run any of the above, and just run, or even Assault Vest actually. Just run coverage on your Mew. It does get both Bolt Beam coverage and Side Shock if you want to hit from the physical side with your special attack, and Earth Power for coverage. This is actually literally the best coverage. Obviously, there are better moves depending on what your opponents have on their roster again. And yeah. One of the moves I forgot to mention is if you're running a defensive or more utility, or even a setup Mew, you can also run Substitute to be able to deal with those annoying walls before you set up. And yeah, I believe that's everything I want to cover in terms of Mew. I did mention that The most I guess appreciated teammates for Mew are dark types, simply because it resists two of Mew's weaknesses, one of them being dark, the other one being ghost. However, this opens up a common weakness between the Mew and the dark type. Obviously, you can draft a dark type without a bug type weakness, such as, I guess, that Scrafty. I don't know, that's the first one that came off my mind. But you'll want to draft a fairy type, which I think is essential to every single draft. If you are going to have a bulky psychic type on your roster. So basically, the takeaway lesson is that, well, by drafting Mew, you should have a dark type and a fairy type on your roster. Those two types, or I guess two types of Pokemon, are the most effective as a teammate for Mew. That's something very different from standard ladder play as well. You don't necessarily need those two typings on your roster or on your team if you're just playing standard competitive Smogon, but in standard draft league, and those are the two typing that Mew appreciate the most as teammates. And obviously, another takeaway lesson is that I can't just emphasize enough that the Mew itself is so versatile. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Mew's limitation is only limited by the imagination of the coach or the player. So of course you can get really creative with some of the moves, but these are the moves that I'm going to be basically these are only the sets, just to give you some idea of what type of things Mew can do through playing different roles on your roster. But of course you can just change it to however you like for that week, matchup wise. Again, I believe that's the end of the video. But yeah, this is all I have to say for this video. Hope you guys enjoy, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. This is gonna be Admin Krow here, signing off. Goodbye, fans of the PCL.